has happened. Sometimes there's a multi-million-dollar sexual harassment settlement, for example, against a particular host. And advertisers don't want to associate with that. But that's a genuine move by advertisers. Right here, what we have is an intimidation campaign by left-wing media sources propping up a Parkland survivor for political gain, and then using that kid as a club to wield against their own political opponents. It's really stomach-churning stuff. Here's the CNN panel saying they can't believe Ingraham has a show. They want her deprived of the show, obviously. Clear about this. She has a pre-planned vacation this week. She will be back on TV because this is not going to stand. Fox News viewers are not going to be cool with Laura Ingraham being ousted over what is, by Twitter standards, a very, very mild tweet. It's not something I would have tweeted. It's not something I think was a good idea. But come on. I mean, you're going to end somebody's TV career over that? Good luck with that. Good luck with that. And again, I think the media is in for a rude awakening because things are going to get really ugly on the other end of this. It's going to, like, for example, I think CNN's beginning to realize this. Let's take a quick example. Let's begin with Joan Walsh. So Joan Walsh is a contributor on CNN, and she says a lot of egregious things on a fairly regular basis. She's featured very often in the Things I Hate segment. So Joan Walsh tweeted out a series of attacks on Kyle Kashuv. And Kyle Kashuv is is one of the Parkland survivors, and there are a bunch of people who decided to attack Kashuv on Twitter. Among them was Fred Gutenberg, whose daughter was killed in the attack. Kyle had tweeted out something like, this entire thing has become really politicized and is no longer about saving lives. And Fred Gutenberg, whose daughter died in the attack, he says, no, it's all about saving lives. Well, obviously, Kyle wasn't talking to him. Kyle was talking to David Hogg and the rest of the Parkland survivors who have been on TV routinely pushing gun control. He was saying that the AstroTurf boycott against Laura Ingraham is not about saving lives. It is obviously about political gain. Well, Joan Walsh liked all of these tweets. Right? Joan Walsh liked all of these tweets. And then Kyle Kashuv responded, just so everyone knows, CNN would never take a side. And then he tweeted at Joan Walsh. And Walsh responded by insulting him, saying, good luck handling your stress. So let's use the left standard here for a second. Right? He said, wow, Kyle Kashuv, are you really policing? Are you really policing the likes of a grieving Parkland father who lost his daughter? Good luck handling your stress, Kyle. That's what Joan Walsh tweeted out. Okay, can you imagine if this were reversed for a second? Imagine if I tweeted at David Hogg, good luck handling your stress, David. Okay, the boycotts would be imminent, right? I mean, this would be an attack on him. Well, now you have Joan Walsh, a CNN contributor, who is attacking Kyle Kashuv, and nothing. No boycotts, no nothing. Well, so here are the list of CNN's advertisers. You want to play this game? If people really want to play this game, we can play this game. Right? We can boycott CNN's advertisers. They're there for everyone to see. We can see all of the various advertisers. Okay, their top advertisers in February 2018 were a Tesla, T-Mobile, Geico, Progressive, Humira, Nutrisystem, BMW, NordVPN, AT&T, and GoodRx. Okay, those were their top advertisers. So, should we boycott all of those? I'm not saying we should. I don't think we should. I think it's really bad for discourse in America when we AstroTurf boycotts against advertisers based on a fake outrage. Okay, based on a level of outrage that is completely disproportionate to the crime that has been committed. Do I think that Joan Walsh's terrible, horrible crime here is really so terrible and horrible? No, I don't. I think Joan Walsh is obnoxious. So I think CNN's advertisers ought to pay monetarily for something Joan Walsh said that's dumb on Twitter. No, I don't. And she hasn't even apologized. Okay, Laura Ingraham apologized, and people on the left are still trying to push her out. It's really gross. Brian Stelter, good for him. He acknowledged this yesterday. He essentially acknowledged that we cannot have a functional media system, a functional media ecosystem, if we're all going to boycott each other's advertisers based on basic political disagreements. The point that I don't need the rest of this, but what Stelter says there is exactly right. When Stelter says, listen, if you don't like what Laura Ingraham is saying, you have a very simple solution. Turn off your TV. If you don't like what Brian Stelter is saying, very simple solution. Turn off your TV. You don't like what Joan Walsh is saying? Turn off your TV. Turn off your Twitter. It's really, unfollow her. Block her. You can do all of these things. In a free country, you as a viewer have the capacity to choose what it is you want to watch. There are very few instances when an advertiser deserves to be hit for advertising on a program. Usually, it's when something so blatantly egregious and awful is done or said that the advertiser themselves would pull out anyway, because the ratings would drop anyway. I'm not a big fan of secondary boycotts, especially because they are easily astroturfed, because advertisers are afraid of controversy, and folks who are politically motivated know that. So if the left wants to play this game, the right can play this game too, and we'll see if CNN likes it as well as MSNBC, and we'll see if both of them like it as well as Fox News, because otherwise what we are watching here is a pure political hit done by certain networks against other networks for a political purpose. That's all. Douglas, and he was present when the shooting happened. And he's obviously been put all over the media. You've seen him saying really vile things about people he disagrees with, saying they have blood on their hands, saying that Marco Rubio's a murderer who basically took $1.05 from the NRA for every Florida student and all the rest. Well, David Hogg he was interviewed by TMZ after visiting some colleges, and he was asked how the college admission stuff was going, and he said, well, to be honest with you, it ain't going that great. There are 4 colleges that didn't let me in, and I understand there are a lot of people who can fill those slots, but if the colleges want to help us out, they can help us out, and if they don't want to help us out, they don't want to help us out. Well, this prompted Laura Ingraham to tweet out that he was whining about his college admissions. Was that ill-advised? Yes. Is it something I would have recommended saying? No. Do I think that we should attack the perspectives that are wrong? Yes. Do I think we should attack the people expressing those perspectives? Not really. But Laura says all of this, and then Hogg's response is not, well, Laura, that was kind of a jerky thing to say. His response is directly from the Media Matters playbook. Media Matters, if you don't know, is a left-wing group co-founded essentially by Hillary Clinton, and that group has been designed for literally a decade and a half to launch astroturfed boycotts against major right-wing media figures. People like Rush Limbaugh and Sean Hannity and Bill O'Reilly, and now against Laura Ingraham. And so this student, David Hogg, he immediately comes forward with a list of the advertisers on Laura Ingraham's show. Right, within minutes, he's got a list. Amazing how that worked. It was just incredible. And then all of these advertisers start dropping Laura's show because they don't want the blowback. Because here's the dirty little secret about a lot of advertisers. They're more afraid of the blowback than they are interested in experiencing the pleasure of advertising on a given show. When an advertiser advertises on a show, usually what they're looking for is an outlet to speak to a vast group of people. What they don't want is bad publicity. So even the merest sign of bad publicity for a lot of advertisers is toxic, and a lot of them run away. And so Laura Ingraham apologizes, and David Hogg says, I'm not going to accept the apology. I'm still going to push forward with the boycott. And the media are giddy over this because finally they have a kid that they can stand behind. And this kid is unattackable, right? You're not supposed to say anything bad about him, even about his perspective. You're not even supposed to say he says immoral things because that would be attacking him. And this is according to the folks in the media. Right? Brian Stelter on CNN said he does not ask people like David Hogg questions when they say things that are absolutely unacceptable because that would be somehow impugning their dignity or honor. I think Brian tries, but I think that was a pretty telling statement. Okay, David Hogg is being used as a shield by the media in order so they can push the sword at their political enemies like Fox News and Laura Ingraham. So Hogg, of course, is really excited about this, and he's going to become the boycott leader of the left, and the left is happy to use him this way. He says that corporate America is standing with him. Here's him making this statement to Allison Camerata, who, by the way, last week said that what dumbass college wouldn't let someone like you in? To David Hogg. Well, David Hogg wasn't let into some of the colleges on the West Coast because his SAT scores weren't high enough. I mean, all of his admissions were done months ago before any of this happened. And his SAT scores, apparently, according to David Hogg, are like a 1270, which is a fine SAT score, but that's 100 points below the average at UCLA. So he wouldn't expect to get into UCLA. In any case, here's Allison Camerata and David Hogg, making out on national TV, or, her. Okay, that's all he's trying to do. Forget all the things that he said that are terrible about people, calling Dana Lash a murderer and someone who doesn't care about her children, and saying the same thing about Marco Rubio. And Allison Camerata just sitting there nodding through this whole thing. Corporate America is not standing with David Hogg. Corporate America is standing with non-controversy. And this is the truth about corporate America. They don't want controversy, which is understandable. If you run a business and you are selling a sleep aid and you are on a show and the show starts to become very controversial and suddenly your sleep aid is popping up in all the ads, you're afraid of the blowback. And so maybe you pull your advertisements. The left knows this, and that's why they're pushing it. And so David Hogg decides to push this even further. He says, listen, I understand that Laura Ingraham apologized to me, and I don't accept her apology, but she shouldn't just stop there. She should also apologize again on CNN, of course, on CNN. And then he says, you know what else? I would really appreciate if she would apologize to LeBron James. Why LeBron James? Okay, because a month before this shooting happened in Parkland, she said to LeBron James that he should shut up and dribble. We talked about it on the show. It wasn't something that I was fond of her saying. In fact, I criticized her saying it. But David Hogg is now going to be the apology police. He's the civility police. Right? This guy who goes around saying that you have blood on your hands if you disagree with him, this is Captain Civility now, according to the members of the mainstream media. Here he is explaining that Laura Ingraham should apologize to LeBron. Okay, it's just absurd. Why should she apologize to David Hogg if he's not going to accept it? And then why is he calling on her to apologize to other people if he says the apologies mean nothing? None of this makes any sense, except insofar as the media are happy to watch David Hogg go out there and call for boycotts because they want Fox News boycotted. They're a competitor. And then they want people, and then they are firmly convinced that you cannot attack anything that David Hogg says. Again, David Hogg seems like a smart kid. David Hogg seems like a politically wily player. That doesn't mean everything that he says is moral or decent. In fact, I think a large percentage of what he says is immoral.